Well, Heavy Devi is back, so hold on to your butts because we're on for an ass ripping good time because that's what we've got on this record. So, let's dive in. Power Nerd by Devin Townsend. So, Devin Townsend is back. Heavy Devi, the man himself, the crazy Canuck. I don't know if Devin Townsend needs too much of an introduction at this point. The man is hard to pin down in terms of like where he fits in this musical landscape, right? Like, is he a heavy metal progger? Where does he fit? I first got, into his music after I heard Siltoid the Omniscient. Then he kind of flew under my radar for a handful of years, and then I really got back into him with Deconstruction and Ghost. I picked up both of those albums on release day because I needed something new, and absolutely fell in love with that. Went back and picked up half of his discography at that point. And then I've just been following his career ever since. And the man, as I mentioned, it's hard to pin him down. He's always kind of shifting his focus. He's always kind of like holding on to wherever his creative juices flow. And the only thing that I've come to expect is to not expect anything and just allow for the music to come through. So we're kind of at a strange setting in his career at the moment. In 2019, he put out Empath, which I still feel is kind of his magnum opus. This was his big personal statement, because that's one thing that Devin always does, is he brings himself into every work that he does. Like, everything that you see is him on the page. Sometimes it gets a little bit uncomfortable, but that's what we love about Heavy Devi. And during the lockdown period, he put out another double discer, The Puzzle and Snuggles, that are both very noise, ambient, experimental. Like, I approach those two more as art pieces rather than music pieces, because they really do showcase like the good warm hug that is Snuggles with the uncertainty, the chaos, the fear that came from the lockdown. Now, after the lockdown sessions, we got Lightwork, and I have to admit, I was kind of disappointed with Lightwork, only with the amount of momentum that we had gotten from Devi up to that point. Before Empath, we had Transcendence with his moniker of the Devin Townsend Project. That continued on with Z2, Epic Cloud, Ghost, and Deconstruction. And so, like, the momentum had been building, and I just felt like it kind of stagnated, and we got a very safe and same record with Lightwork. Now, Nightwork did provide quite a bit of really fun, it was the companion album or the bonus disc from that record. But yeah, at the end of the day, it just left me kind of cold. So with Power Nerd, I was kind of excited to see where we were going to go from here, and I was getting two conflicting messagings with this record. The actual cover art of this is very serene, it's very atmospheric, it's very ethereal, and I was like, okay, are we getting something like the Snuggles or Ghost or some of his like DevLab or Hummer or, some of those like more ambient sounds that he likes to play with? But the first single that we got was the title track of Power Nerd, which is just straight fun rock, and this is stuff that we would get from albums like Addicted or some of the deeper cuts like Liberation from Epic Cloud or from Z2 with Silent Militia, and even within like some of the more fun and quirky moments that we would get with Transcendence. So we get this fun rock that Devin always likes to play with. I'm thinking of the classic like Vampolka and Vampira from his Synkestria album. And I was like, okay, so that's kind of the flavor that we're going to be getting with this album. And having the album now, that is exactly what we get. All of these tracks are, I almost want to call them goober rock, like it's very just fun. It's very like, this is what we're going to be playing. It's not heavy. It's not full of metaphors. It's not drowning in the weeds. It's not super heavy. It's just fun rock. And I feel like this is like goober rock in like the very, and I guess nerd rock as well, but goober rock in like the unapologetic, very self-aware and self-referential and almost self-deprecating, but not in a negative way, in a very strong and powerful, I am passionate about this and I am just excited about it and I just want to stand up on the rooftops and yell it with all my passion. You know, like as a fellow nerd myself, I get that way when I talk about Pokemon. You know, I get that way when I talk about progressive rock. You know, I get that way when I start talking about X, Y, and Z. You know, like when I get into something that I'm very passionate about, it's like, oh, you're just being a goober about this, right? And so all of those tracks kind of follow the same template. And if I were to say anything negative about this album is that they're very same, you know, like once you've heard that first track, Power Nerd, you've kind of heard the whole album. You know, there's nothing that's going to surprise you on this record. There's nothing that's going to come out of left field about this one. You know, it is very, okay, you heard that one song? We're going to do it 11 more times, but just change it around a little bit. And if you're like me and you're along for the ride and you're very excited about that and you're just here for a good time, not a long time. It's the other thing that I love about this record. It's quite short. It's only, 44 minutes worth of music. And I actually really enjoy that. I love the fact that this album is short and sweet, doesn't overstay its welcome, it doesn't get lost in the weeds or get lost in the sauce. It is here for a good time, not a long time, and I really appreciate that. I also love the fact that, like, because Devin is working with individuals that he's worked with before, like we've got Diego Tajirda, I'm so sorry, Diego, that I always mispronounce your name, ex-Haken keyboardist that was touring with Devin, and I think he even helped him out with Lightworks. We've got Darby Todd on drums, we've got Mike Kenally, I believe, on additional keyboards works. And then just additional individuals like Jean Savoy, Amand Kalosia, I believe, Tanya Gosh, and Jamie Jatsta, all on additional voices. I love that. I love that we're just playing with a small group of people that love to play in this kind of sandbox. You can see like everybody's having fun. And that's what I really appreciate here. And this is one of the things that I'm like, oh, I love the fact that Devin is just having fun with this one. And I am along for the ride, and I really, really appreciate it and really love this record because of that. And I also just love some of the deeper cuts on this one. I love Knucklehead being fun and quirky and just a joy. Gratitude has a little bit more of an intimate flavor. It's feeling much like Spirits Will Collide from his Empath record. I also really like the quick Here and Gone track of Dreams of Light that has that kind of ghost flavor, and I love his use of choral work. I love his use of this atmosphere and layering. Like, Devin is such a master of that wall of sound that isn't just a massive wall that you can't make heads or tails of. Like, you can hear every mix and every item in the mixing in that case. But Devin shows that he's still here to rock and he's still here to bring the metal. Jannyism, I believe is it. It has this like really heavy root of the track that just like you can't help but headbang. Like same with Glacier. Like holy geez, Glacier feels like this massive wall coming towards you, and as it's coming towards you, you're like, yeah, okay, there's the choral work there, and there's some of the synthesizers there, and okay, there's Devi there, and like again, Devin's vocal works are just mwah. I love his range, and I love how he's able to both scream his balls off while also coming very small. And Glacier is kind of the snapshot perfect example of his ability to create these high highs in, you know, this massive, huge, all-encompassing sound, and also bring it down into a very personal and very small and very compact measure. Now, I say Glacier's my second favorite track of this album because my actual favorite track is the closing track of Ruby Quaker, and I wish Devin had embraced more of the quirky aspects that he loves within his music work, because I love how this is just coffee, coffee, I love my coffee, 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 I love my coffee. And that's it. And it just like goes from this really fun, very bopping into like straight up death metal at one point, and then is brought back into this big symphony of sound. It's Devin solidified. It's Devin crystallized in that case. So yeah. In the end, I will say Power Nerd is nothing new. Power Nerd is something that you have heard many times from Devin on past records. He's not reinventing himself, but what he's doing is he's taking those moments that he's played with on other albums and has solidified it and kind of crystallized it here. You know, the closest that we've gotten to this album in the past is probably Addicted, with moments of Epic Cloud. Like if you took the grand big scale of Epic Cloud while infusing the raw fun aspect of Addicted, you would get Power Nerd. And I've been having a ball with it. I think that this is my favorite record from Devin since Empath, just because I wasn't a fan of Lightwork or his Lockdown stuff anyway. But this was a great fun. It's you know, I can see some people being frustrated with it, and that's fine. Be frustrated with it. I had a great time because I'm here for it. So, in the end, I will say Power Nerd by Devin Townsend is one that I would absolutely pick up in physical format. It's great. It's great. It's a perfect example that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to come on with this grand big statement. You don't need to, you know, provide your big magnum opus to provide great, enjoyable music. And that's what we have on Power Nerd. It was a great time. I loved it. I love the energy. I love the flow. And I think you will too. If you're a fan of Devin, I highly recommend checking this one out. If you're just a fan of fun rock music and you want a good, optimistic time, give this one a spin. You won't be disappointed. So yeah, that's what I've got for Power Nerd from Devin Townsend. What did you guys think about this record? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, please let me know by commenting down below. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you guys for today. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.